Well, there's a Riyadh Comedy Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh, Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I mean, how do you even promote that? You know, like, from the folks that brought you 9/11, 2 weeks of laughter in the desert. Don't miss it. I mean, the same guy that's going to pay them is the same guy that paid that guy to bonesaw Jamal Khashoggi and put him in a suitcase. But don't let that stop the yucks. It's going to be a good time. Full disclosure, I was not asked to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, so it's kind of easy for me to take the high road on this one. Easy to maintain your integrity when no one's offering to buy it out, you know.
So, Saudi Arabia decided to host its first comedy festival, which took place in the capital city of Riyadh. It was scheduled from September 26 to October 9, and around 50 comedians attended, some of whom were quite big names in the comedy scene. Now, why is this so controversial? Well, Saudi Arabia has been heavily criticized by international human rights organizations for ongoing abuses, including forced labor, executions, and restrictions on free speech and women's rights. The country has also faced global outrage over the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi and its military actions in Yemen, which have led to major humanitarian concerns. So just based on those facts alone, I think most of you can see why this is such a controversial issue. You would expect these so-called free speech advocates to avoid performing in a country that's been condemned for silencing dissent. But of course, some of these guys only like to talk about how much they care about free speech, when in reality, they only do it because it makes them look good. Now, since we started on such a dark note with all the human rights violations Saudi Arabia has been accused of, let's actually lighten the tone with someone who decided not to go and refuse Saudi's offer, Shane Gillis.
Yeah, it was it's tight. They just went to the desert and just fucking vibed.
They were asking me to go to the Middle East soon.
What? Where? Why?
Saudi Arabia and UAE or Dubai.
Dubai?
I think I'm gonna pass.
Yeah. For the troops? Is it for the troops?
Not for the troops.
What?
It's for the Saudis.
For the Saudi princes?
Yeah, and everyone's like, yeah, you should do it. Everyone's doing it. It's like, for Saudis?
Yeah.
Weren't those the 9/11 guys?
So I thought.
Aren't they exactly the 9/11 guys?
It was Iran, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's all been Iran this whole time.
Now, what's really interesting about Shane Gillis is that he didn't turn down Saudi Arabia's offer just once, he refused it twice. After he said no for the first time, they came back with a second offer that was reportedly double the original amount, and still Shane refused. So on that front, major respect to Shane Gillis for turning down the offer and showing he's someone with a backbone.
Managers, like, just send me to Comic-Con, bro.
I'm done.
Fucking Comic-Con.
I should have taken I got to take the Saudi Arabia deal. I should have taken it. I'm washed. God. When does that fucking kick off? Those boys.
I don't know. Aren't some people now not thinking about doing it? Aren't some people not thinking about doing it now? I saw a thing saying some people now might be wavering.
I saw it next week. It's like next week.
How are they wavering? They agreed. Like,
yeah, I don't think
you got made fun of for it. So you're like, actually, I'm not doing it.
You know, it'd be sick if they said they were going to do it and then they went to Saudi Arabia and did 9/11 on Saudi Arabia.
Now you're talking.
Gotcha.
Now you're talking.
Payback, dumbass.
I'm kidding. He's obviously kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. You know, I'll be honest. I don't really have strong feelings about the Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I do get the fact that they perpetrated 9/11.
I'm not doing it.
That is good. I admire that.
Then they doubled the bag, and I was like,
sorry, just go on Google, big. Who really did 9/11?
I'm not doing it.
And just be like, okay, fine, never mind.
Yeah.
They doubled the bag, the princes?
It was a significant bag.
What?
Yeah, but I'd already said no. You know? I took a principled stand.
Yeah, against Saudi Arabia.
It wasn't even that. I didn't even think about it.
I thought we were allies.
Now, this move from Shane got a lot of people in the comedy scene talking, and one of them was Dan Soder, who gave Shane some well-deserved props.
We get down to $100,000.
That's what Shane said to him. They kept coming back, doubling it, and finally he went, "You're going to find a number that I say yes to, and I don't want to. Please stop doing this."
Wow.
That's such a great. I don't have that thing to go. You're gonna get a number, and I don't want you to do this.
Yeah.
Stop. I don't have that in me. I have that 4 days later.
Fuck it. He's the
4 days later.
He's
I'd be
the
like,
man
I
for doing
shoulda
that.
Did this.
He's the man for doing that and being like, "No, man, you're going to keep fucking going."
I'm a 3-day Bob.
Now let's move on to someone who clearly doesn't have a backbone, Tim Dillon. On his podcast, he announced that he's performing at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, and since Tim often talks about politics, he obviously knew this was a controversial move. That awareness led him to, I guess jokingly, make a comment about Saudi Arabia's human rights issues. Now, sure, it was a joke, but within that joke was an acknowledgement that yes, even in 2025, the country still faces serious criticism for those issues. And that little moment ended up getting him removed from the festival lineup.
There's people that I respect that turned it down, but a lot of people are doing it, like a lot, like almost everyone. A lot of people are doing it. They bought comedy. So what? Listen. What's your problem? Well, they have slaves, then they kill Hey. Get over it. Get over it. So what? So what they have slaves? So what? My friend, somebody I don't even know. I bumped into them in Tribeca. And he goes, I would never do that because I don't want to interact with slaves. I'm like, well, why not? They'd be deferential, right? I mean, I imagine the slaves in those countries are good at what they do. Well, I wouldn't want to interact. Everyone you meet there is a slave. That's what they said. Everyone that works at all the hotels, they take their passports. They're not allowed to leave. They're slaves. Hey, is the hotel nice? Is it nice or not? Is it nice or not?
Now, a couple of weeks after that podcast, Tim received the news that he would not be participating in the Riyadh Comedy Festival following the comments he made. Because, of course, Saudi Arabia didn't appreciate someone even jokingly mentioning its human rights record.
I was fired from the Riyadh Comedy Festival. It is the most important free speech news. Everybody has a take. Everyone has an opinion. It's inescapable. Go to a lunch. It comes up. You're at a christening. You think you're safe. You're not. Did you hear? Comedian, podcaster, Tim Dillon fired from Saudi Arabia's first comedy festival. Shocking developments. What does it mean? What does it mean? I'll tell you how it went down. And then we'll address that thing at ABC with Kimmel. I also heard there's an issue there. But my agent called me and told me, first of all, I'll lay out the whole thing. I was supposed to perform in Dubai. I mixed up Dubai and I said Abu Dhabi. Apparently this is a big deal over there. This is like a real problem. My agent called me and he goes, you said on Joe Rogan that you were performing in Abu Dhabi and you're actually performing in Dubai. They're cities and they have a rivalry. And I go, dude, who gives a fuck? What do I stop? I made a mistake.
Now, let me show you the video where Tim Dillon says that exact thing on Joe Rogan so you have a better idea of what he's talking about.
That's right, which what I'll be doing in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and Abu Dhabi the night before. Get your tickets now, Tim Dillon.
You're doing Abu Dhabi the night before?
The night before to warm up. October, whoa. I'll be in October, Abu Dhabi, October 6th, and then Riyadh, October 8th, and October 7th, the day of rest and remembrance.
Wow.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? This is not a malicious slander. It's a mistake. He goes, well, they're very angry, and they sent an email that you need to be controlled. I said, well, good luck. Whatever. I don't have to do it. I don't care. And then he called me a few days later, and I thought he was going to talk about the Kimmel thing. But he called me and he said, they heard what you said about them having slaves. And I said, I was being positive about it. I was defending them. He goes, well, I know that. I know you were defending them. I said, I was defending them for having slaves. I literally said, slaves are probably hard workers and, for the most part, agreeable. But they didn't like that. You can literally support somebody too much. I've learned this. You can actually, by the way, in life, this happens. Too many compliments, too much support, and then they turn on you.
Now, when it comes to someone like Tim Dillon, I mean, did anyone really expect him, of all people, to turn down the money? Let's be honest, it was pretty obvious he was going to take the deal, even knowing how controversial that is. So yeah, for me, it wasn't much of a surprise that Tim Dillon ended up on that list. But with that being said, let's move on to someone whose track record is genuinely impressive, Marc Maron. As you saw at the beginning of this video, he's spoken about this issue in one of his stand-up bits, and he's also shared his thoughts on it during a podcast appearance.
Like don't get me started about the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yeah, that looks like.
You think you saw it? How is it?
Oh, no, I did see that. Yeah.
It's under the radar.
Yeah.
That all these huge acts, I can name names, but you can just go look it up, were offered complete ridiculous amounts of the bloodiest money on the planet.
Yeah.
you know, but it's like, does it just come to that? And look, I can maintain this position because one, I wasn't asked.
Yeah, of course. That's always with me.
And I don't think I'd go. I know I wouldn't. But it's like, does history not matter at all? I mean, literally, it's like the Riyadh Comedy Festival from the guys who brought you 9/11. Do you know what I mean? It's like, is that just nostalgia?
Now, to add a little bit to Marc Maron's point, because I forgot to mention this at the beginning, what Saudi Arabia is basically trying to do here is the same thing they did with sports. Sport wash their image. The way they've done this is by investing huge amounts of money into sports like soccer, boxing, and tennis. Basically, whatever sport you can think of, Saudi Arabia has most likely poured massive sums of money into it. Obviously, the reason they've done this is because they want people to associate Saudi Arabia with sports rather than the human rights criticism they've faced. And now they've decided to apply the same strategy to the entertainment industry, which is exactly why they've hosted this festival. So the way you can look at these comedians who took the money and decided to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival is that they've essentially become part of the country's image cleaning effort, whether intentionally or not. Now let's move on to one of the biggest hypocrites on this list, Dave Chappelle. And weirdly enough, I didn't see many people calling him out for attending the festival, but he and Bill Burr, who we'll get to in a minute, are, like I said, the biggest hypocrites here. If you've followed Dave Chappelle's career, it's almost impossible to not have heard the $50 million story. But if you have no idea what I'm talking about, here's Joe Rogan giving a quick summary.
Oh, God. What you were saying is exactly what happened to Chappelle. Oh. The Chappelle show. Yeah. They loved him. He's this wild dude. And then all of a sudden, this is too wild. This is becoming really successful.
We can
change you. They wanted him to stop saying the N-word. They wanted to stop a bunch of different things on the show.
And we'll give you all this money if you roll over.
They gave him literally the devil's deal. We're going to give you $50 million, and this is what you're going to get. And he's like, no, I quit. I quit everything, and I'm going to go to Africa. I'm going to hang out in Africa for a while, and I'm going to quit stand-up for 10 years and come back and still be the best.
That is so...
For all the things that I've done, I'm most renowned for what I didn't do. I've made decisions in my career that a lot of people have called insane. 2004, had a $50 million deal on the table. And in a crisis of conscience, flipped the table over and walked away. Went to South Africa. Everyone said I was running away from the money. That is not true. In fact, I still want that money.
Right, so that's a beautiful message. Here's Dave Chappelle, a guy who once stood up for what he believed in and fought against the big corporations that tried to take creative control of his show and turn it into a money-making machine, draining all the meaning and life out of it. Beautiful messaging, couldn't agree more. But how is anyone supposed to hear that story ever again without seeing Dave Chappelle as a massive hypocrite? I mean, if there was ever a time to refuse some money, this was it. The perfect moment to reinforce the image of a principled guy who can't be bought. At this point, that story, it's lost all meaning. He can never tell it again without people calling out the contradiction. And by the way, Tim Dillon mentioned on his show that the best offer the Saudis made was around $1.6 million. Obviously, the people who got that number were likely Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr. So this wasn't even close to the $50 million Dave turned down before. And let me remind you, this is the same guy who's been complaining for years about how bad cancel culture is, how comedians like him can't speak freely anymore, and how their rights are supposedly under attack by the woke mob. Meanwhile, he's performing for and taking money from a regime that punishes people for criticizing those in power. So yeah, maybe Dave Chappelle used to be a guy with a backbone, but not anymore. Nowadays, you can't really say that without raising an eyebrow. Now let's move on to a guy who, at least on this issue, made the right decision, Joe Rogan. On his podcast episode with Tim Dillon, he was asked if he would go to Saudi Arabia, and surprisingly, Rogan said no.
Absolutely will do it.
Yo.
Wouldn't you go to Saudi Arabia?
I'm busy.
Yeah, but
I have to stay here.
You're
I have a lot to do.
You're also doing well enough.
Now, what's even more surprising is the fact that Rogan even threw some shade toward Tim Dillon, kind of calling him a hypocrite in a nice way. For context, they were talking about having dinner with billionaires like Peter Thiel.
I don't know that I want to go to a dinner with someone who's going to talk endlessly about the Antichrist.
But yet you'll go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, of course.
And perform.
Of course.
Now, in reality, Rogan's far from perfect. I mean, this is the same guy who endorsed Trump, and after Trump took some very extreme political turns, Rogan barely said anything about it. The best you got out of him was some mild criticism, only for him to go right back to praising him. So I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea that Rogan is this totally upright person who will always speak out against the things he doesn't believe in, because he's not. In reality, he's just very inconsistent. Now, with that being said, let's move on to one of the biggest letdowns in this video, Bill Burr. And if you know anything about him, you know he's not only one of the funniest comedians of our time, but also someone who, for the most part, usually has the right take. His opinion used to carry real weight, people respected him for that, but unfortunately that's not the case anymore, especially considering he's already performed at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. And you'd think that after all the backlash he got, he'd come back and address it on his podcast. But no, instead all we got was him rambling about how great of a time he had at the festival.
And I'm going to, I don't know, man, I'm fucking nervous about this one. This is like, we're in the shit here. Like, they have never had a comedy festival, and, I don't know what's going to happen here. And like, my whole fucking idea of Saudi Arabia is what I've seen, like, on the news. I literally think I'm going to fucking land, and everybody's going to be screaming, "Death to America!" And they're going to have, like, fucking machetes and want to, like, chop my head off, right? Because this is what I've been fed about that part of the world, right? And we're flying over it. It's nothing but, like, these long roads and sand. It's like nothing. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck did I get myself into? And then we land. And now here we are, right? And we end up driving into town. It's a city, everything, right? And everybody's just regular. They're dressed different, but they're regular. Like people just shooting the shit. Hey, how you doing? Welcome. We're saying, hey, we're happy to be here. And we're driving around, and then I'm just like going like, I thought this place was going to be like really tense. And I'm thinking like, is that a Starbucks? Next to a Pete's Coffee? Next to a Burger King? Next to a McDonald's? Next to a Pizza Hut? Next to a Dunkin' Donuts? Next to a Krispy Kreme? Next to a Cheesecake Factory? Next to a KFC? Next to a Chili's? They got a fucking Chili's over here? Then we go into the mall because I want to get my kids something. There was a Timberland store. I could have bought Timberlands like I was in Brooklyn, New York.
So you guys get the point. He keeps rambling about how great of a time he had, and then he tries to paint this picture that everyone criticizing him somehow has a problem with the people who live there, which of course isn't true. Nobody has an issue with the people of Saudi Arabia. The issue is with the regime that runs it. And honestly, it's kind of insulting that he even took that angle, like, bro, we know what you're doing, we're not stupid. It's really disappointing. I mean, this is the same guy who's always been so critical of billionaires and how corrupt they are. Meanwhile, he's out here taking money from some of the wealthiest people on earth, whose government has a long list of human rights violations. So yeah, at this point, I don't think anyone wants to hear Bill Burr talk about any issue ever again, because just like Dave Chappelle, it all comes off as straight up hypocrisy, especially after taking money from a regime built on oppression and censorship.